Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard, and I'd like to talk to you today about the relationship between exercise and balancing your blood sugar. The big question is how much exercise is actually good for us and how much more is harmful. And in the article associated with this DVD, I tell a story about when 1981, when I was training for an Ironman triathlon. I went to my first Ayurvedic lecture and I asked the doctor afterwards if exercising this much, exercising for a 2.5-mile swim and a 112-mile bike ride and a 26-mile run was actually good for you according to this system. And he looked at me and he said, "Why do you want to do such a thing?" And I really didn't have an answer for him, but I said, "Well, I'm not really sure. I think maybe I can do this thing." And he looked at me and he said, "Do you meditate?" And I said, "Well, yes, I do meditate." And he says, "Do you sleep while you meditate?" And I said, "Absolutely. I get the best sleep ever. And I love when I just fall asleep during meditation." He looked at me like I was kind of like ignorant and said, "When you meditate, it's different than when you sleep. If you're sleeping during your meditation, you're exhausted, you're doing way too much, so stop exercising so hard." So I said, "Does that mean that if I exercise, if I can meditate and not fall asleep, that means that I'm not exercising too much and I'm not exhausted?" And he said, "Yes, you can do that." So I went off thinking if I could exercise less, meditate more, not fall asleep during my exercise, I could actually do all this exercise, kind of be invincible was my goal back then, without killing myself, without it being harmful to me in the long run. Well, fast forward 30 years from then, I just finished my first triathlon in 26 years with my 3 kids, my 20, my 18-year-old, my 14-year-old, and using the techniques that I learned back then, I was able to place first in my age group. Now, what I learned back then to exercise less was I shortened my workouts from an hour or hours to 15 minutes. I would do sprints as I would commute on my bicycle for 15 minutes. I would do 10, 15-minute runs real fast, burst and then rest, and burst and then rest. And now guess what? The research is in. It is compellingly evident that when we exercise, the harder we work and the longer we do it, get on a treadmill for 45 minutes and just exhaust your heart, actually has damaging effects to your heart. The research is clear. Please go to the article associated with this video and you'll see the references to that research. Long, slow, marathon running exercise actually is damaging. So be careful to know how much exercise is good and how much more is harmful. I did a whole video on nasal breathing exercise, which is an amazing monitor. So you know how much exercise is good for you and how much more is harmful. And there's a whole host of benefits that we did research on in my book, Body, Mind, and Sport, years ago to prove this science. However, when we exercise, the idea currently, and the newest research shows that when you do quick bursts of exercise and recover, magical things happen to you when you exercise. There's a training technique developed by a doctor named Irv Dardick who called it heart rate variability training. So if you are looking for your maximum heart rate, you take 220 minus your age is your maximum heart rate. So I'm 53 years old, so my maximum heart rate is 220 minus my age, 53, which is 166 beats per minute. That's as high as my heart rate is allowed to go. When I was 20, I could go to 200. Which means every year my ability for my heart rate to go up is getting less and less and less. That's an indicator of that we're aging. Now, the resting heart rate as we age goes up and up and up. So the high rate goes down and the low rate goes up and we start to basically disappear. And that's how we lose our youthfulness. So if you want to train to be youthful, train to get your heart rate up and then recover so it goes real slow. And this is actually very topical these days. People are writing about it in magazines that when you're exercising, you should be kind of like in the old days, hunter-gatherer days. We were hunting rabbits and we'd see a rabbit, we'd chase after it, and then it would jump in a hole and we would wait and rest and be perfectly still. And it would pop out and we'd chase again and it would pop into a little hole and we'd wait for it to come out and rest. And when we would do that kind of exercise training, the heart rate would go as high as it could go for a short burst and then it would go as low as it could go for the short burst. So we're actually training for what's called heart rate variability, to get the heart rate to go up as high as it can go and as low as it can go. And that is what we want to train for. And so I'm teaching you in the video, in the article with this, I lay out a very easy 12-minute workout. 12 minutes of about a 2-minute warm-up going really slow, a 1-minute sprint, followed by a 1-minute nasal breathing sprint and a nasal breathing recovery. Do 4 of those sprints with a 2-minute rest, and you have a 12-minute workout that will boost cardiovascular efficiency like nothing else. It works phenomenal. It works for me as I play basketball once a week. You can do it 3 to 4 times a week. That's all you really need. And then supplement that with yoga, a hike, a bike ride, but get your heart rate variability training in and keep that ticker alive and well. Now, many of us have problems. You say, boy, when I exercise, and I hear this all the time, I get pain, my muscles ache, I get injured, so I can't work out. Well, as we are sedentary, the muscles get tight. They lose their blood supply. Without blood supply, the muscles lay down this fibrous tissue which sticks the muscles together. So that when you go out and exercise and use them, they tear and they rip and they inflame and they cause all kinds of problems. We take Advil and NSAIDs and all these kind of things to get rid of the pain. But there is an herb called, an Ayurvedic herb, which is phenomenal. It's called Boswellia, which actually increases the blood supply into the muscle, into the joints. It actually breaks down the scar tissue in the muscle and allows the muscles to slide more effectively, increases blood supply into the muscle and the joint, so you can actually restore the pain-free status, deal with the reason you got painful in the first place, and therefore wean off the product. And I love that about our LifeSpa products, is that the idea is to get on them, get better, and get off of them, so we're not deficient in any particular product or pill or powder. The idea is to use the Boswellia, take 2-3 times a day or 3 twice a day for 6 weeks, and establish the elasticity in your joints, increase your exercise, do your cardiovascular heart rate variability training that I just laid out for you. Start doing that, gradually build up, and wean yourself off the pain-free, and off you go into a pain-free way of beginning to restore exercise and cardiovascular status once again. My name is Dr. John Douillard. Thanks for listening.